You
I,
want what?
I would love to hear an Anthony Kim story if you have one. I know you got a couple.
What's so what? Yeah, what's the? I follow the legend of AK out there on the interwebs right now. Is there any latest on him? I mean,
I swear he's a ghost. I don't ever hear anything about him. I don't know.
I was just looking at his Wikipedia before this, and the last thing that's on there is it says 2016. He did like an informal interview, and someone asked him like, "How's the golf game?" And he says it was quote non-existent.
Yeah.
2006, 5 years ago.
yeah. So yeah, I mean Anthony. I mean we grew up playing junior golf together. He grew up, pretty close by, and I mean he's always a good buddy, and I mean we still keep in contact, a little bit, maybe I talk to him like, a couple times a year or something like that. But I mean, you want to talk about, so back to what we were talking about earlier about how you could practice a lot and get worse. Mm-hmm. Anthony was the exact opposite. He was the guy that, could get more out of a 30-minute range session than, I mean, most guys could do in a month. It was pretty silly how efficient he was, and how, I mean, but it's just his golf IQ is just through the roof. And, he would, if he was hitting it right, he would just go on the range and figure out a way to not hit it right. And it just wouldn't take him that long. And it was hard work, but it was just, he was so efficient. And, I think because it was just the game was so simple to him. And, I mean, have you guys seen his swing? Have you guys seen his action much?
Yeah.
Had a pretty
very simple.
Yeah, super simple, pretty unique, and he really choked up a lot. Like, I mean, does anyone do that now? I don't even think that's.
No.
I don't think you see a single guy.
He did a clinic with Tiger. I remember watching it. Yeah. Said that he grew up playing with his dad's club, so he just used to choking up, and then when Nike sponsored him, he's like, just make him a couple inches long, and it just felt comfortable for him.
Yeah. But okay, I mean, so I've got a couple Anthony stories that I could, that he probably wouldn't get too upset about.
All right, good.
But yeah, one of them, we were playing the USAM at Wingfoot. It must have been right before I went to college. Must have been 2004. The USAM was at Wingfoot. No, yeah, 2004. And I'd played a US Junior Am. And this was my first USAM. He had played a few. He was pretty good. And we were staying together. We had like, guest housing. We were staying at, someone's big old house, and we were both staying together. And I don't know. I mean, Wingfoot just ate me up. Absolutely beat me up. I think, I shot over 80 both days, missed the cut by a million. And he played all right. And I remember watching him, the second round of stroke play, I'd like finished up and he was still out there, and I went out and check up on him. And he had some like local kid caddying for him. And the kid was just a mess, like could barely carry his bag. And Anthony was like, hey, he's like, BC, you didn't make the cut, did you? I'm like, no, way off. He's like, you gonna caddy for me tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. I'll caddy for you. And this is, I mean, he's like still playing. He's like has a couple holes left of stroke play, and he's poor kid. The kid's like right there, in front of him, and just found out, he's getting fired for match play, and I felt bad for the kid, but the kid didn't. The kid was done.
Yeah.
So Anthony made the cut, and the first round of match play, I forget who he was playing the first round. Some college player at the time, good player, and they were having a good match. We might have been like Anthony they might have been even, it might have been all square through 10. And so Anthony always had this problem where, guys got so pumped up to play against him in match play, and he always had a problem. He wasn't that good of a match player because he'd always run into guys playing their best golf. I don't know what it was, but he always brought the best golf out of people. Like when guys were playing him, they just got fired up and like, I don't know, like they just played well. They always played well against him. This happened, in past years at the USAM. He'd, play good in match play and lose, and it was always something I saw. But then this was the first time I was seeing it firsthand because I was caddying for him in match play. So, anyways, we're through 10 holes. He's all square with this guy. They're both playing really good. Winged Foot just beat up people in stroke play. I think Ryan Moore might have been the medalist. He might have been 1 under. He was the only guy under par. And these guys they're playing great through 10 holes. They're all square. The 11th hole at Winged Foot, it's a short par 4, but you can't hit driver off the tee. It just like narrows up and goes up to the green. So I think Anthony had the tee and he grabs driver, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, what? I didn't even know. I thought he just grabbed it by mistake, I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, like I'm going to, hit that fairway up there. I'm like, what? There's no fairway. The fairway stops at like 240 and then there's no fairway. And he's got a little fairway, and he's talking about the walking path. Like they cut, like a 2-yard walking path, because the fairway ends and there's like these just fairway bunkers and just rough. Like there's no fairway, but they cut a walking path that goes from, 250 to, up towards the green. And he's like, I'm hitting that. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's still like, we're having this conversation on the tee. And he's like, and he looks over at me and he's like, I gotta show this guy that I'm going to win the match. I got to show this guy that he doesn't have a chance. I got to like kill his spirit. I'm like, all right, like that sounds pretty cool. And sure enough, he hits this little fairway, rattled the guy enough. The guy like missed the fairway. Anthony won the hole. I don't remember if he birdie or parted, and he pretty much just cruised in from there and won the match, a couple up. And it really was like just that from that one shot. And I mean, wow, it was the most ridiculous play. I mean, you could never make this play. I mean,
this was like a walking path like they have between the fairway and the tee boxes. Is that
like, like right off a tee box? Yeah, where they would cut to the fairway where you're supposed
like a cart could go down it, but nothing else, right?
Why does a golf cart?
Oh my god!
Why does a golf cart? How deep was the rough?
Oh, I mean, the rough was unplayable. The rough was, I mean, yeah. If he misses this fairway, you cannot hit the green. You're just chipping out. I mean, the rough was. I mean, you could just lose a ball like if it fell out of your pocket. I mean, the rough was unbelievable. But yeah, that was, that was the type of player. That was the type of player he was, and those were the types of things and the way he was thinking. And it wasn't that he was just so reckless. He was just hitting driver just because. He was dead serious. He's like, it was it was like a chess move. It was a mental, he was trying to break this guy, and
wow.
And, he couldn't, the guy didn't budge through 10 holes, and Anthony just picked this unreasonable spot to make that type of move. But I mean, he did it, and it was really impressive. But then, so he won that match. Then the next match, he was playing this guy, Chris Nalen, who, really good player. Again, this is Winged Foot. Has beat everyone up in stroke play. There are 2 I don't know that anyone shot under par on the harder of the course. I forget what the different courses were. We're on the 7th or 8th hole in the second match against Chris Nalen, and Anthony might have been even or 1 under, which is really good golf. And I think he was like 2 or 3 down, and Chris was 3 or 4 under, and Anthony never gives anyone credit. I mean, never ever, especially another competitor. He's never the guy to say oh, this guy looks good, or this guy's playing good. I've never heard him really give much credit, even if someone really deserves it. And we're on the 7th or 8th hole, and Anthony comes over to me and he's like, "This is the best golf I've ever seen. This guy's playing. This is I've never seen anyone play like this. Like, what's going on?" And so, and, I mean, he ended up losing the match, and it was, like I said, I don't know what it was, but he struggled in match play, no fault of his own. It was almost like just his personality. People just showed up to play him. But yeah, I think he's such an interesting character for golf, and it's so funny to me that he still pops up. I see him on the social media lore every now and then. It's cool that people still have an appreciation for how good he was, and kind of he was a little more, he was flashy, and he's a cool character for the game, for sure.